Next, if we'd all stand for the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mark, I'm going to change the agenda if that's okay with you a little bit. We have several invited guests here who have busy schedules. I see politicians and others. So I'm going to move up public comment to this time and open that up to anybody with public comment not related to items on the agenda. And that way they can do their thing. Anybody? Nobody? Anybody? Please, Tom.
Wants to go, great.
Fred, do you want my report under public comment?
Yes, that's what I was looking at you at the same time I was looking at Tom and at Tracy.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Tom Kuntz. I'm the state representative for the 100th District. So I have Clare, Osceola, Mecosta, and 4 townships in Lake County. The 100th District has 48 townships and 11 municipalities. And I'm happy to say I've visited and attended a meeting in 48 townships and 7 municipalities. The city of Manton seems to, I keep missing that one. We'll get there. So I spent some time on the Grant Township Board. When I say Grant Township, I mean Clare County. If you know where Jay's is, that's home for me, Jay's Sporting Goods. So this is absolutely my vision of what government should be. Small, transparent, and local. And I think it's great that you can come here and you can ask questions. I'd like an answer. Can we get this answered? And maybe you don't get the answer you want. That's fine, that's America. But it's glad to see that this happens. So this is more of what Lansing should be like, is in front of it. So we have started our, the budget is done. That started October 1st. So we'll see how that goes. Lansing is really, everything is about the election right now. Nothing's going on until after the election. We won't go back in session. We met in June. We had one day in September, and now we'll go back November 7th-ish, depending on how November 5th works out. So, Mr. Mayor, I don't know if I can ask for questions. It's your meeting.
Not supposed to be, we will for this session.
If there's any questions, and let me extend it too. If someone has a question they want to get me privately, that's fine. My information's available, so glad to do that.
Sure, go ahead. Questions from the commission? From the public?
Great.
Thanks for coming. Thanks for
So,
seeing us.
Let me say really quickly, the state of Michigan is out of money. A year ago, January 23, we started with a $9 billion surplus, and that's gone. So whatever projects you have coming down, I was glad to see the Dragon Trail got completed. I was glad to see these things are done, because those days are over. I think we're gonna see a belt tightening coming very quickly. But thank you for your time. Have a great evening.
Thank you. Thank you. Others? Tracy, I assume? We did receive a lot of grant money in the last 3 years.
Oh yeah.
A lot of good projects. Thank you for
There
coming.
was a lot of money.
Thank you.
A lot of COVID money, thank goodness, too. My name is Tracy Rule, and I am Tom's opponent for the 100th District. And Tom, the municipality of Manton is not in your district.
Marion, yeah.
Okay. Anyhow, most of you know me. I am born and raised in this community, grew up on a dairy farm, and even though you know my family, the Schubert family, and all the things that they have done for the community, just so you know, I grew up poor. I was definitely part of the working poor. I was working poor when I was a young adult, and I was provided opportunities that allowed me to lift myself up out of poverty, which I did. And I want to say, in leaving, I went and moved to Manton and moved back here 6 years ago. I was stunned to see what has happened to our community as far as the poverty levels of our citizens. 56% of our citizens fall under ALICE, which means they're asset limited, income constrained, and they're employed. So these are not retired folks. These are folks who are working their butts off every day to try to pay their bills. And those are the people who I'm talking to every day, and they don't feel represented in Lansing, for sure. So I think that if you send me to Lansing, what I want to work on is policies that are going to support our people from the bottom up. And that comes to help with childcare, affordable housing, those things that are really impacting us right now. So thank you for your time, and hope you give me a chance in November.
Questions, anyone? I gave the opportunity to Tom. Thank you. Thanks for coming. Don't be embarrassed to just take off, you two. I know you're busy. That's
I'm
what I'm
sta-
gonna do the same with Commissioner Routley because he's got the same thing. Go ahead. Please, Bill. We're calling out a little bit out of order, but I think it's legit.
I'm Bill Routley. I'm on the Central Dispatch as a city representative. I just wanted to let you know, earlier on, I made a statement a month or two ago. We had some issues with one of our towers up northeast that we're having trouble with. They believe they've got that resolved. The other thing is the backup center, the backup command center, which is a duplicate of Central Dispatch. In case of an emergency, something happens, that system goes down. We now have an active backup command center in the building in Osceola County, in their services building. So we're in good hands. Budget is in good shape. So any questions on Central Dispatch?
Me one.
All right, thank you.
We're finding it interesting reading now that Steve Shorter has showed us some Central Dispatch data that comes right off the computer on calls.
Yeah.
All kind, police calls, fire calls, all the calls. They have it to the second of when people call. That's
it's-
quite interesting information for us right
Yeah,
now.
from time to time you'll get a comment. I've had a couple comments as a commissioner. Well, so-and-so, and it took 22 minutes for the ambulance to get there. I'll call up and say, Megan, how about this call? Yeah, they were there in 12 minutes.
Yeah, you can get it right to the second.
They do. They watch it very carefully. It's a high-stress job up there. There's a lot of downtime. I get that, but boy, they're dealing with lives all the time. They deserve more than attaboys. They just do a phenomenal job, and I think we are maybe only short one person now up there. So a couple of good candidates in the line. So everything's looking good up there.
Thank you, Bill. Questions for Bill, anyone?
No, just thank you for being our representative. Appreciate
Okay.
it.
Thank you. Any other politicians want to speak and leave or whatever? Because we're gonna not do this every week, or every meeting. Anyone? I'm gonna ask for any other public comment on things not on the agenda. Anybody? Okay, thank you, thank you. There are no minutes for approval today. We have no special orders. We have two study sessions. The first being the local streets financial report to help educate board members and the public about the financing of local streets.
Yes, last time we talked about major streets, this is local streets. And if you're ever interested in seeing what the local streets are, we do have maps and you can see what's a local street compared to a major street. So the main source of revenue for the local streets is the gas and weight tax that we get from the state of Michigan. And we do have an estimated amount that we're gonna get for fiscal year 25. This is the state's fiscal year, and then fiscal year 26. For 25, it is 280,000, and for 26 is 286. And if you look at our fiscal year ending in June 30th of 24, we received $276,000, almost $277,000. So this estimate is up slightly in spite of our population decline, because that revenue is based on population. And then our miles of streets also factors into that. I also have included expenditures for our 23-24 construction season. And we were able to do Marion Avenue in the amount of $39,000. And there was also, in addition to that, we also did projects in the water and sewer funds. It's always nice when we can coordinate those projects as far as sewer lines or whatever, and do paving at the same time, so we're not digging up this road that we've already recently paved to do a sewer or a water project. We also did Dexter Avenue with the water main replacement, so the street portion was $167,000. And Ridgeview Drive also was a water main replacement, and then the street portion was $246,000. Bailey Drive, $352,000, and there was also there was also utilities to that in addition to the street. And then paving, we were all able to start some paving projects that have continued into this fiscal year. So we had Henderson and Hanson, and then a small section of South Fourth, and then what we didn't use, we carried forward to this fiscal year beginning in July. So we did finish that, and the portion that we finished was $42,500. We also did a mill and fill for Stewart and North Fourth, and then we just completed West Waterloo, where we repaved and widened. So, and going back to the Henderson Street and Hanson South Fourth, we were able to do 1 block of Henderson and 3 blocks of Hanson. So that was nice. And then, just briefly, give you a little revenue overview of from 23-24 fiscal year. We received $276,000 in money from the state for our Act 51 funds. We also get a snow payment, and that varies. It depends on the winter, and there's different factors that the state figures in as to how we get that. And then we have the ability to use it either on our local streets or our major streets. So we try to alternate that. Some years it goes towards local, some years it goes towards major. We also received a grant. There was a TED FB grant in the amount of $198,000, and that was road funding for small communities. In addition to that, we were able to spread interest of $23,000. We did very well with interest this past fiscal year, so we were able to spread interest across our funds in a positive way. So that was nice to see. We had transfers in from the general fund and from the water fund, and that was to help with some of those projects that we just talked about. And then as far as expenditures go, we've already kind of talked about the street construction projects and then what we carried forward to this fiscal year, so I won't go into detail with that. And then other thing, we're just routine maintenance, with maintenance materials, contracted services, things of that nature. And then finally, I'll talk a little bit about fund balance. So our fund balance that ended in 2023 was $756,938 for local streets. And then our unaudited, soon-to-be finalized audit, is approximately $694,584. So I'm projecting that our fund balance ending in 2025, based on estimated revenues and expenses, is going to be $652,094, and so we continue to have a healthy fund balance in local streets, and as that stays the same, we'll be able to finance our necessary projects. So is there any
Carly, do
questions?
you remember right off the top of your head how much the decrease in census hurt that was local street and major street fund?
Not without looking, but it was significant.
Hundreds of thousands?
Oh, yeah, yes, yes.
So
I
the
think Mayor, it
census-
was 250,000 across both major and local, I don't remember.
Okay.
Right.
I don't remember.
What the breakdown is.
But they raised it from that one year to the next some, so it helped us.
A little bit.
Yes,
A little
yeah, a
bit.
little bit, yes.
Thank you, Carla. Questions from the commission first? From the public? Questions on street money? Hearing none, thank you, Carla. Appreciate it. Next work session is the kickoff of the strategic plan CIP, and Michelle Stenger is going to start us off this year.
So back in April, we had a work session on the strategic plan, and then we did a review of that strategic plan at a later meeting, and we came up with categories and projects that the city commission would like the city staff to move forward on and implementing. So in your packet is kind of the original strategic plan plus a worksheet that shows where we're at on those projects. We're working on a fair amount of them, probably more than half. We've completed 3 of them with the police accreditation, the sidewalks by Eastwood, and what was the other one? Ensuring funding available for continuing education for staff. So we've completed those 3 tasks. And then we're also working on a handful of other. There are some that we haven't gotten to or started working on, which are creating a welcome packet for landlords. We're working on a welcome packet for the entire city. right now, but we're planning on extending that packet to specify things for landlords and tenants and some of the issues that they have. And then also, zoning ordinance, we're waiting on the master plan to finish up before we can start working on zoning ordinance, which will tackle some of these other tasks that are implemented, or that we need to implement. So part of that kind of rolls into our CIP. We're starting our CIP process, which will take us towards figuring out our budget for next year. Our CIP kickoff is this week, and so in your packet is a form that if the city commission has any projects that they're interested in staff looking at as part of the CIP, please fill out and get it back to us. We're trying to, one of the complaints that we got in the strategic plan is that our CIP process wasn't public enough. And so this is our start of trying to make it a more public process.
Who gets that form?
Me,
No, who do you give it to?
oh,
You
would
give it
be,
to every city employee and let them have at it?
it goes out to department heads, and then how they disperse it is up to them. I know that, like, Public Works disperses it to wastewater and water, and they have meetings surrounding what projects they want to work on, and then it all gets collected into community development to chart and.
Who could take an item off or on?
So we go through, there's a multi-step process. We start with collecting all of the information and we put a package together, and then we send that information to all of the department heads or operating heads, we send it to Jake at wastewater and send it to water, and everyone gets to rank the projects on what they think is the most important and what they think is the least important for all of the projects for the next 6 years. And then once we get those rankings back, we go through and get an average number. That average number gets discussed among department heads. And then last year, it was Carla, Mark, and I sat down and figured out how to, with our budget, kind of adjust and get as many projects as we could.
Mark, anything?
No, that's a good synopsis, yeah, I mean, it goes through the planning commission, the city commission adopts it, but implementation into the budget is the three of us, and some make it and some don't. We don't adopt the budget, however, that's the city commission, and I try to be diligent in talking about what projects are in or out, and I will continue to even be better at that as time comes up.
More, Michelle?
I have no more, Mayor.
Thank you. Questions for Michelle?
When are we going to have a strategic planning session? Those originally happened the first, it's happened all over the place since I started, right? So I guess it would be helpful if we're looking at a timeline somewhere where we just know, oh, that's when we're gonna do that. Cause over the past couple of years, we've sometimes done it in July and we've sometimes done it in January. April. Or April, yeah.
This last one.
And that's, I'm not speaking negatively about it, there's reasons for it, but it would just be helpful to
We
have
can-
that kind of placeholder in the
I can
timeline.
work with Tammy on trying to, we've talked about kind of getting like a regular timeline for some of our repeated projects that come up, and we can include strategic planning in that list.
Very good. Others? Hearing none, thank you, Michelle.
You're welcome.
Sounds like a lot of meetings, Michelle. We're not gonna do public comment again, we already finished that, there are no public hearings. We're on to general business now, this next section is not gonna be too exciting, but the airport finally is ready. And the government, these are either MDOT Aviation or FAA, and they're hundreds of pages of details. We received, Timmy made sure we received them all. I memorized them all myself, but we have to have resolutions for allowing me to sign and telling me to sign these different things. I have not memorized them, and I hope the lawyer has taken care of that whole issue.
I've memorized every word.
Pages of, the first resolution before you is once again airport. It's a block grant for runway extension number 9, and the contract number's there, and I would just wonder if anybody would like to make that motion on the resolution.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion second. Now questions. I see Steve's not here. You Mr. Airport today, Mark?
I'm Mr. Airport today, Mayor.
Okay, what's-
I'm, the first one is, the big block grant funding for the airport, and we've talked about it, but not for a while. These types of funding opportunities come through at a 95 and 5, the 90% federal government, 5% the state, and then 5% local. So that's what you're seeing in that breakdown of the, so our match for this estimated project cost of just shy of 2.3 million is 114,460. And I'll take us back again to when we did the borrowing for the airport project. That is, these matches were included in our borrowing. So that's where that money's coming from, is the bonding that we have already done. So that's that one, and well, I'll stop there, Mayor. And
Stop there, we'll
yeah,
do one at a time.
Sure, okay.
Anyone on this first one? Anyone out there? I would call the question, please.
James,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Rhodes,
Yes.
Seven,
Yes.
Gunther.
Yes. The next is Michigan Department of Transportation bipartisan infrastructure law agreement with MDOT. Mark, what,
Similar sort of breakdown, but many have maybe heard about BIL funding, BIL. That stands for Bipartisan Infrastructure Law. It was applied in other ways, road funding, bridge funding, and some came to airports. And we have a component part that's coming as a part of our runway extension project. Total amount of this aspect of the project is just shy of $500,000 with a city match of 25, or just before $25,000. So it's a different aspect of funding for the same project.
thank you. Is there a motion for this part resolution?
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Anything else anyone has to ask? Anyone? Hearing none, call the question, please.
Johnson,
Yes.
Rhodes,
Yes.
Seven,
Yes.
Gunther,
Yes.
James.
Yes.
The next one, I've been getting these requests from the federal government like for 3 weeks, asking me to sign these papers, which I had no clue. So this is the one authorizing the mayor to sign these contracts, grants, and certifications. It's federal and state law. I'm going to rely on the attorney and the city clerk extensively on these, because you have to sign them online, and, you know, if you make a mistake and all those things. So Tammy, tomorrow, or no, we can't do it tomorrow, Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion second. Questions? Hearing none, Tammy?
Rhodes,
Yes.
Seven,
Yes.
Gunther,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Thank God the airport expansion is gonna happen if we sign all these papers, and they plan on starting dirt moving in the spring?
No, well, they want to do the forestry work in the winter, so I.
They'll start cutting the
Yeah,
trees.
yeah, in the December timeframe, ground, freezing, weather dependent, I suppose, so
And we're still waiting on Eagle as to how many,
we are. But final, verdict, I guess, for, the wetland issue of how many wetlands have to be replaced in other locations, because of the tree removal.
has Steve heard anything?
I haven't heard anything that, no, I would, I'll make sure I follow up with him. I haven't, and I don't believe he has either heard anything.
Next, we'll go to Public Works resolutions, the first for Green for Life, which is that northern A1 who goes around, does the grease and grit removals. Is there a motion for that resolution?
So moved. Second.
And there's a second. Mark, do I explain, I see Heather's not here. Oh,
No, Heather,
do you do grit and grease too?
That's for the wastewater plant, yeah.
Okay, tell us about that.
So it's like a Vector service is what we use them for. Our lift stations, once a year, will get pumped out, our aeration tanks. And normally when we call them, it's like 12 grand. So we usually go out for bid. This is a second 1-year extension for them.
And that company's good for you all.
Yes, yeah, they've changed their name several times. It was Northern anyone, but yeah, it's GFL now, or Green for Life, but yeah.
Mark?
I'll just add, Mayor, Commissioner James asked, what we have in the resolution just one line item of a laundry list of services they provide. I think we primarily use them for the Vector truck and their crew to come and do the pumping.
Yeah, and there's a larger breakdown of that.
And the other question was, well, how much of an increase is this? And based on our current contract, or the one, prior to renewal, we were at $295 an hour. This is up to $345 an hour. So it's a bit of
Nice.
a bump there, so.
Did we move this yet, David?
We did.
Questions? Hearing none. Tammy?
Yes.
Gunther?
Yes.
James? Yes. Johnson?
Yes.
Yes.
Next is a resolution accepting the bids for snow removal. This happens every year, and we get the same two people to bid, and they're the ones who help us clear the city streets when it's a huge amount of snow, and they clean all the snow from downtown mainly. And it's always Fenstermacher and Morningstar. Both those bids are there. They're very similar, and we would entertain a resolution for the bids on snow removal.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second. Questions? Somebody in the audience have a question about, did you look at those bids? They're interesting. They're local enough that we know the people and all those things, but they sure help us out when it's an ugly snow. No questions, please, call that question.
James?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Rhodes?
Yes.
Pittman?
Yes.
Gunther?
Yes. Next is a resolution, and that's why Scott Hall's here from Fleece. For the engineering services, we're starting now into that final process of doing that huge wastewater treatment redo. Mark, how do you wanna talk about that?
Yeah, I can start us off. Scott he was here just recently too. And
Last meeting.
Given the commission a overview, this has been somewhat thrust upon us, and I'll say that as much as it can be in a positive way, that we're potentially gonna have a funding opportunity to do some really great improvements at the wastewater plant. Problem is, it comes with timeframes that are rushed, as usual. One of which is all the engineering, I think, if I remember Scott talking about needing to be some level done by spring of '25. To be able to meet that deadline, we needs to get started, and that's why he's here with a proposal for the preliminary engineering to get that work going. Now, we also recognize as staff that we haven't put the whole package together for the commission yet. We haven't had the bonding analysis that we need. We haven't had the rate analysis that we need. And so Carla and I are working on that. We will have that at one of our November meetings, but we didn't want to delay Fleece and their work to do the necessary design. It's really not a problem because these things will have to be designed at some point anyway, right? Whether or not we pursue the funding that's available for us, this design work is not gonna be wasted if we get going and choose to do otherwise. So, I recommend it. I think we need to get going, but that's my, synopsis, Mayor, and happy to answer any questions.
Why does that take 4 or 5?
Budgeted amendment there.
Those take 4 or 5. Questions regarding this?
So if I read this right, this is for strictly preliminary engineering services. This gets you not up to construction documents.
Yeah, so this is probably like just the first 15 to 25% roughly of the design. Like site survey, a lot of stuff that we have to do before the snow flies, that's kind of critical, time sensitive. And then just our preliminary basis of design calculations essentially.
Which means you'll be coming back to us at some point, which I know the mayor always appreciates multiple visits
He's a Michigan Tech engineer too.
with our engineering partners, so I just wanna make sure we're all clear. We're gonna see you
I will
again,
be
so.
back, yes. I think just to elaborate on what Mark said, this is kind of a first building block to any of these projects that would happen at some point over the next couple of years, and if something were to go a different direction in the next couple months, and you wanted us to stop work on that, I mean, it's certainly an hourly contract.
Is there did we do that yet, David? Is there a motion for, Felice to begin engineering?
So moved. Second.
And a second. Further questions, anyone?
I have a question. Just super high level, what will be the upgrades in this project?
I can, Mayor,
If it's,
I can list.
Go ahead, I have them memorized.
Oh, you do?
The new screw thing, the pump outside my house has to be replaced. I just know those two.
He named a couple. And, so yeah, we replaced one screw pump, but there's two there. One's 20 years old and it needs replaced. A couple lift stations, one of which is on Novak Lane, one of which is at Tioga. There's an old Vortex grit system that's ancient, 30, 40 years old. It's been limped along by the guys at the plant, guys and gals at the plant. Aeration blower replacement and controls, aerobic digester blower replacement and system improvements, sludge thickening. The SCADA system is the computer system that runs the plant. All of that would be included.
Anything else anyone has? Please, call the question.
Johnson,
Yes.
Rhodes,
Yes.
Simmons,
Yes.
Gunther,
Yes,
James.
yes.
thank you. Go, Scott, go see your family, please.
My wife thanks you.
The dump truck upgrade. Who's the dump truck upgrade
I'll do
expert?
dump truck upgrade, Mayor. We bought a new truck, but we're transferring some of the equipment off of the old one that it was replaces. We went out to bid. We have one bidder, Truck and Trailer Specialties, Dutton, Michigan. They've bid on things on us before. I've yet to look up where Dutton is, but many of you probably know. And so this is a nice improvement to our fleet and needs to happen. Total cost for the work, $63,873.
Is there a motion for the upfit of a dump truck?
So moved.
Second.
There's a second. Further questions, anyone, expert?
I just have one for Mark. Could you, look at some of the consortiums we belong to? I talked to Heather about this just to see, if we're looking at that list when we send bids out.
I will. I'll do
Okay.
that, yes.
Thank you. That was all I had, Mayor.
Thank you. Others? Dump truck experts? Hearing none, roll, call the question, please.
Rhodes,
Yes.
Simmons,
Yes.
Gunther,
Yes.
James. Johnson.
Yes.
Next, after last meeting, we all threw out some things about splash pad rules. We'll have them all ready to go if we approve them by spring, so that it'll be all set. Some things were changed, some things were added, and the park commission, I think the minutes are with you, they agreed to make some of those changes. I don't think there was any controversy about some of those rules, so if you looked at the splash pad rules, there's a resolution to approve the splash pad rules. Hello?
Are you ready?
Yeah.
So moved.
Second.
Questions, anyone, especially the
Well, it
public,
was very-
who have little kids.
It was a very big issue for us for the past couple of meetings.
Well, it's going to be over.
Been in and out several times.
I mean, we don't have anybody to monitor the splash pad. We're not hiring somebody to stand down there to see if their Band-Aids are coming off, or if they scrape their knee, et cetera. That was just getting all a little cuckoo. So I think we straightened that all out. Nobody watches the splash pad, do they? Does Jake have to do it from the water treatment, wastewater?
My duties as a sign.
Who does watch the splash pad? Just the police?
There'll be cameras that monitor issues that come up, but it's a public play area at your own risk, just like a playground would be, similar kind of thing.
Thank you. Did we,
Yes.
David?
Yes, now you call the question.
Thank you, David. Call the question.
Simmons,
Yes.
Gunther,
Yes.
James.
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Rhodes.
Yes.
Next is an interesting resolution regarding flowers is Rosemary Jennings here. Next year you should take her with you, Mark. Make her be on that committee. As you know, the people who supplied flowers for how many years, Mark?
15.
Closed. So Mark and Heather, right? Is there anybody else was with you?
Todd Eichler.
And Todd Eichler, who does all the work. Anybody else? Went and visited, two of the bidders that were interested in bidding on doing our flowers. Mark, take it from there.
Yeah, no, good synopsis, Mayor. Yeah, Carnamont Farms, a longtime, great partner to the city, to get to the flowers to the standard that we all enjoy, is moving in a different direction and more of the traditional farming kind of thing. They have said they don't want to do the flowers, aren't able to do the flowers anymore. And so we went out for requests for qualifications. Now, we do that in times that you want to choose or at least consider who you're choosing based on the quality of the work they do and not just on the bottom line price. And so we had two bidders, JW Greenhouses, and then we had, the name escapes me, but our other bidder is just from White Cloud. And tours were had of both facilities, interviews with both companies as to their abilities to provide the highest standard that we enjoy. The recommendation this evening is for JW Greenhouses. I was on that tour, I wasn't on both of them, and they are top notch. And they do municipal contracts across West Michigan. They're understanding of what we're expecting. And so included in your packet isn't the prices, but folks want to know about the prices. And the JW is actually significantly cheaper than our other bidders' cost. So a total cost for JW is $16,440, whereas our other bidder was $21,223. So it's a significant price reduction, but we do believe that's our best option here is to move.
Remember how much, Carla might remember, how much the lower last year?
It's been 18 or 20, I think.
18, 20?
Yeah, it's right in there. We keep growing what we want, we put them on the other bridges, and so we keep kind of pushing the limit. Some point that'll have to stop probably, but a lot of people do appreciate it and compliment the work the city does on the flowers though too.
Rosemary, anything?
Definitely, there's a lot of people that appreciate it. I think probably more so than you imagine.
Thank you. Lorraine?
So, can they increase that every year though, cost of living type increase?
Yes.
They're not
yes.
stuck with that for
Right.
what's in this resolution,
Right.
right?
I'm sure they will.
Or if the
Yeah.
city added some things, they obviously are gonna add
Yes.
some.
That's
costs.
right.
That was it, thank you.
That one yet, David?
So moved.
For the
Second.
flowers, motion and support for flowers. Further questions? Please.
James,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Rhodes,
Yes.
Simmons,
Yes.
Gunther.
Yes. Paula, before we go to the fire, which we're gonna spend the rest of the meeting on, do we have another one?
Yes, we do.
Michelle.
That's Freudian.
C.
You know Freudian, that's Freudian. Paula, excuse me, but I have an ability to speak. Did you want to tell us anything? I got your letter. It was wonderful. Is that what you came for, or was it unrelated?
I'm gonna come back in November, so I'm showing up to support you.
thank you.
Yep, we'll be back.
Thank you. Sorry, Michelle, you want to talk about the master plan, please.
I do, before you is a resolution to approve the draft master plan for distribution, which will allow us to begin the 63-day review process with the public. And then once that's over, it will go to our planning commission for a public hearing, and then come back to the city commission for our final hearing before adoption.
Questions for Michelle? It's a brief 155-page document, which the commission should memorize.
I support that. I'm not being silly.
We should.
Yes.
Is there a motion for,
So moved. Second.
okay, so this motion will approve the master plan, not in its final element, it's to allow it to be presented to the public. Please.
I'm sorry,
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Simmons?
Yes.
Gunther?
Yes.
James?
Yes.
Am I okay now, Jane, to keep moving to? Okay, just checking.
I had a quick question. Where are they going to send this to the public after those 60 days and you guys approve it? Where?
So right now it's available on our website and it's probably been available for the last month and a half. The draft version is, we by state law have to send it to all of the surrounding townships as well as one of the neighboring counties. And then like, we have to send it to any tribal or there's a list in state law that says who we have to send it to. So we legally have to notify those people that it's available for review.
Does that look like what we saw down at Public Safety? Okay, all right. I
Yes.
just want to see if that was the same thing that we were looking at down there.
Yes, yep.
It's all in verbiage, not in charts.
Yeah, oh, I like the charts.
Me too. You all set?
I'm all set.
We voted, didn't we, David? Yep. The fire resolution is the last item of business. The city was ready to sign the new fire agreement. We had accepted all of Eric Williams' changes. Some commissioners made a few changes. That was all taken care of and we were ready to sign tonight. We still can sign tonight. I, as the mayor, received a phone call on Tuesday at 2:37 from Carmen Bean asking me to ask the city commission if they could have a 90-day extension on that 60-day early agreement to give them more time. And I'm gonna leave that statement right there and let people speak to that 90-day extension. If you read the minutes from the township meeting, which they were distributed to us openly, that they're concerned about insuring the equipment. They're worried about the new trustees not having a vote on it if they do it quickly. What was the third, Mark?
Did you say insurance? I'm sorry.
Insurance was first, then the equipment, the new people.
The cost of the building, I think, was it
Yeah,
somewhere?
there was a question on whether the $20,000 to take off the yearly to run their building, those were all factors that they would like to extend it on. And I'm gonna leave it there because I think the city commission needs to publicly talk about whether they wanna delay that or exactly which way the commission would like to go with that request. There's no way this mayor will ever answer a request like that without the commission's approval. So I'm gonna open it up first to all commissioners, then I'm gonna open it up to anybody who wants to talk about it.
I just wanna make sure I have the right paperwork in front of me. I have the revised agreement that was originally part of our packet, right? And then I have what was sent to us earlier today, which was a resolution approving the 31-day extension of administrative services. Is that correct?
We changed it to 32.
So Mayor, can you talk through how we got to the new resolution that's before us? Can you help fill in the gap? Because what I will say publicly is that I do not see anyone on the Big Rapids Township Board, current board, in the room today. So I will ask my question of you because you seem to have the most understanding of at least the timeline.
The first thing this morning, as Mark was back from his vacation and Brad was here and I discussed their request for a 90-day extension. It was, in that roundtable discussion, it was not highly popular. ranging from no extension to a 30-day extension. It's actually 32 days would get them through their next meeting, and they could vote on this thing with their new board on December, what was it, 3rd? And so we went around and around about it. So at the end of that conversation, it seemed from that group that we would either, just vote on what we were presented to vote on today, which is a legit good document, or possibly go 32 more days to have their new board have a chance to vote on a fire collaborative agreement. Is that how you read it, Mark?
I think that's a good synopsis. The only other addition to that was I called Carmen and I texted trying to, just have a bit of a contact with each other today. Weren't able to do that, but I did try to do that.
So what formal information have we gotten from the township? Just how is this, the
The only
meeting
thing was
minutes set?
that, those minutes, Hannah sent them because it was requested by Tammy Gillis to get those, at Tammy's request. And the phone call that Carmen made to me. And I specifically asked Brad Fowler, our attorney, does that mean anything? Does a phone call to me as the mayor mean anything? And your answer was?
Yeah, I think that's in the township's eyes, their request. And to add to that, I did have a conversation with Eric Williams, the township attorney, last Friday about it. And he also voiced to me that his take from that township meeting was that they're requesting the 90 days extension, so.
Should there have been a formal written request of the city commission on that? Or is a verbal from Carmen Bean to myself adequate?
I mean, typically, when you pass a motion, it would be also to authorize and direct the city clerk to communicate that to the city, or the township clerk to communicate that to the city. They didn't do that in this case, but I think they handled it through a phone call from Carmen Bean to you. Whether that was right or wrong, that's how they chose to do it. So now it's just a matter of, what do you want to do with that information? Do you want to entertain that request, or do you not want to entertain that request, or do you want to entertain something in between?
Good.
Thank
That's
you.
that's the way I read you the first time, and I think I'm good. So let's start with commission thoughts.
Right, so then, talk me through the new resolution that's in front of us today, the thought process behind that, because I suspect that yourself and Brad and the city manager put this together for us to review.
I just saw it now as you did, so I'm gonna leave it.
Oh, okay, all right, I didn't
I
wanna
had nothing
speak
to
for
do.
you, okay.
Yeah.
So then what is it that we're looking at here, this revised 31-day
Yeah,
extension?
so, and I apologize, it says 31 at the top, it's technically 32 because I miscalculated the October 31st date, so there's a 1 day missing there, but it would give you an option to, rather than grant the 90-day extension, which the township informally requested, to come back with them approving, or at least signaling that you would approve a 32-day extension, not a 90-day extension, to get them through their next meeting on December 4th, or December 3rd, pardon me. And it makes clear in there that you would also not entertain any further extensions as not being in the best interest of the city. So it kind of gives them a little bit of more time to try and get to a deal. I think there's some recognition based on my conversations with the township attorney that the township is still interested in pursuing this deal, they just want more time. But it also kind of establishes a hard deadline of, after this 32 days, there's not gonna be a further extension. So that's what this resolution does. Now, it doesn't, obviously, it takes the township to agree to any extension of the existing agreement, the 60-day agreement that's in place, so this doesn't amend the agreement, it just authorizes the mayor and the clerk to sign such an amendment should the township agree to that 32-day extension.
So then, changes are an additional compensation for consideration of extension, reducing the renewal period, stating, hey, if we do this, we are not interested in renewal, we're looking for something different. But there are no other changes. We didn't change the reporting structure where the current Big Rapids Township Fire Department is under the direction of the city.
Yeah, this amendment is just to that 60-day temporary services of Steve, essentially. Steve's services as fire chief for the township. It's extending that 60 days an additional 32. and asking for an additional, saying we would authorize that for an additional $4,000 payment from the township to the city for that extra 32 days. And that's essentially what this does.
And when does the current agreement expire, if you could remind me?
November 2nd is when it would expire, because that would be the end of the 60 days.
Okay, and the township has clearly proven that they're just fine having special meetings, I would say. Because they had a special meeting to
I think it was a
discuss
special meeting to top fire, I think Monday.
basically
Monday we could
anything
go to that.
regarding fire, they'll have a special meeting about. Mayor, that answers all of my questions. Thank you for letting me go first.
Thank you. Who wants to go second? Amanda.
I would like to go second. So, from my understanding, for the almost last 60 days, the city of Big Rapids and the township have, in good faith, negotiated out this contract, and we've bandied it back and forth to come to what we have before us today, that in good faith was negotiated, only for them to have a special meeting and ask us to give them more time for a potential new board who has been pounding the pavement if they are newly elected. They've been out there in droves. They know what the people want. All of the notes and the contracts and meetings have been open and publicized. Even if the township hasn't publicized theirs as well as we have, ours are on record on YouTube. This is a well-known hot topic. Any newly elected board for the township, I would believe, would have the basis of knowledge to make a decision on this. Notwithstanding that, the current board in the township has one more meeting before the new board would take over. So I don't see how I could ever entertain an extension to that 60 days. I don't see how we could do that. We're trying to help our neighbors out, but they're trying to put their mess on our doorstep. And at some point, the Big Rapids Township has to take account for what they have done and what they are doing. They need to take ownership of it. The last nearly 60 days, they've been in the weeds with this, figuring it out. I think they need to see this one through. I think we need to not entertain the 32-day extension. I think we need to vote on the contract that's before us that they have negotiated on. And then they have one more meeting to make a decision on how they want to act after that. Those are my thoughts.
Thank you, Amanda. David?
So when this first contract was first approved, I was like dead set, saying 60 days are up, if they're not ready, I'm not gonna vote for this, extension or nothing. Then I heard about this on Friday, they wanting 90 days. Didn't sit well with me. I was fired up. And then this morning I woke up, I was thinking about it more, and I actually had thought of something like this myself, that, maybe it's kind of a olive branch, kind of there's some other issues that have been going back and forth, the whole annexation, this and that's been brought up a few times. To me, maybe this is a way to kind of be an olive branch between the township and the city and say, let's forget about everything else. We'll give you 32 days. If they can't figure it out by 32 days, then so be it. The whole thing about, Amanda mentioned, a new person being on the board. I was appointed in July 1st. I didn't get a training period. I had to get in here and get going right away. It's kind of going to have to be this. Yes, it's the same way. They need to be, but maybe this would be kind of, I look at this as an olive branch, maybe saying, let's just forget all the past, get behind the past. The past is the past. Let's go forward. Let's get this deal done. Let's at least get a 1-year deal done. Live and learn and get on with, serving the people, which we're all supposed to be doing as elected officials.
Thank you, David. Lorraine, anything?
Well, I have a couple questions first. Were they billed and have they paid? I guess that's one question.
Yes, Carla gave me this just before the meeting, invoiced $4,000 for the first month on October 5th, and township paid invoice on October 15th. At the end of the October, essentially, or at the end of 60 days, we'll bill the remainder. So they have paid our
They paid 1 month,
Yep.
basically. And you didn't stipulate when you did that they had to prepay or anything.
Right.
So it's not like they're in default, correct? I'm not in favor of 90-day extension at all. I've tossed around do we just do the contract or do we do the 32-day extension? I'm not opposed to the 32-day extension. I mean, if the majority of the board wants to give me 32 days, I'm okay with that. But I would say I'd be done after that. I mean, it's now you either take the contract or we're just done. We're not gonna give more extensions. I mean, that's my feeling.
I'm not gonna waste time. Ditto, Lorraine James. Wise person. I'm gonna open up to the public now, 3 minutes of talk. I'd love to hear, especially from that group over that way. There's people running for office, people on the department. Fire away at us. Help us decide. Sign the one we got, or go 30 days, or 90 days. I don't think 90 will fly, but anyone? No one? There's 2 Monday Night Football games on tonight, so. Right, Karen? Please.
I do want to, I'm on Tom Parker, Big Rapids Township Fire. I do want to thank you guys for letting us have Steve for 2 months. He's been great. You know, we've been able to get a lot of things accomplished that we needed to down there. Not short many people that we got, we're finally able to make changes. So I do want to thank you for letting us have him. If you guys agree not to move forward with this or whatever vote, everybody down there, we are still, even if the contract doesn't go through, we are still finding a way, trying to figure out ways to work together with the city to help the public. You know, we're shooting around ideas just in case this doesn't happen. So, we do want to thank you again for Steve.
Let me ask
Steve
him
has
a- wait a
enjoyed
minute.
it, by the way.
Let me ask him a question. In your personal opinion, do you think an extra 30 days is gonna help?
I don't know. I can't give you an answer to that.
Do you have any idea why they asked for an extension?
No, because we, on the fire department, we've been kept out of the dark for this whole process, so I can't
I
tell you.
understand.
That's the truth. There you go. Transparency is a wonderful thing.
Transparency, I understand.
Yeah, so I mean, that, we've learned more coming from the city commission meeting than we have our own board on this, so that's why we've been showing up.
And folks, I take that as a compliment if I were you.
I would,
Yes.
There's an old timer back there who's been through this kind of stuff. You haven't said anything. Do you have any thoughts on this merger issue, Bill? You've been around.
Well, first of all, thank you for helping the township out. I think they were in bad shape and they needed your help. And Steve has done a great job from what I hear. I can see the 30-day extension because there will be a chance of new board members, and that lets them sign the contract rather than somebody that's lame duck. So I would, I think I'd appreciate it if you did that. But I agree, 30 days, if they can't make a decision, they have to move forward somebody on their own.
Thank you, Bill.
The new board members will be ready. They know this is coming up.
As Amanda said, they've been on board,
I just,
on studying
to me,
pretty hard.
it's regardless of how well or poorly the township has advertised what's going on, everybody who is political in this community is aware of the fire issue. And the access to the draft, the access to the conversations is there if you are interested. So as like a newly elected official, if you're coming in and on, there should be no excuse that you're out there pounding the pavement, talking to your constituents, but you haven't read your homework. You haven't watched the videos and you haven't read the notes. I just,
It's political.
I feel,
be honest,
yeah,
it's
I feel like this is a
political issue.
leveraging tactic and I don't appreciate that. Especially after, in good faith, we've been negotiating a contract.
Bill Routley?
I have a couple of thoughts on it. One is, what happens to the township fighters? Will they be moved into your organization?
They will all that want to will apply to become part-time Big Rapids firefighters.
Number two, 32 days is not a big issue. It shows a good faith. I wouldn't do 90 days. I see nothing wrong with 32 days. There's new people coming in a little bit. Saddle them with some negative thing that they have to fight and claw their way out of.
Carmen told me they wanted 90 days because the first meeting they're in charge is December third, and they don't wanna have to vote on such a big issue at their first meeting. Okay, thank you.
They take office November 20th.
Special meeting
Say that again?
They will take office November 20th, so that gives them 12 days after they're in office.
Well, thank you for that
Yeah, that's
information.
good.
We wondered, we thought they took office at the first,
Noon on the 20th of November.
okay, thank you, Bill. Tim?
Yeah, I just want to say, again, to reiterate, thank you for what you have done for the township. It has been very generous. I do think that to some extent, that opportunity has been squandered, and it is unfortunate. I think, the potential new candidates for this board are very well versed. We've been at the meeting, we've been at all the meetings, we've talked to, these gentlemen, these folks, these firefighters, these professionals, and we, have a good grip on where we would like to go with the situation. I would say the 32 days would be nice, because we would like to be the ones that choose to go there. With that said, I can completely understand why you would, Amanda, for example, wanna hold their feet to the fire, and, either way, ultimately, who's going to benefit or pay for this issue is going to be the people that we're trying to help, our constituents who we wanna make sure have the best of what they can have. And these folks, I think they have been left in the dark, and I think it's unfortunate. And I would like an opportunity to even have more conversation with them. So that's where I'm at with this. I appreciate you.
Thank you. The Big Rapids City firemen, I kinda do straw polls, et cetera, and I push Steve quite hard. They are there's only, I think, Mark, one or two people who.
We have one. Derek is here, back in the back.
There he is. Pretty much in favor of the whole thing and bringing their people on and the whole thing. Let's go. There's not much negative to you
I've
guys.
had good conversations with, the guys that are down there.
Thank you.
We're ready to make a strong department to serve the people.
Thank you.
Bolster both rosters.
I'm gonna call it here.
Both areas, and we're ready to go.
I
Go
just
ahead.
wanna make a comment that, Steve's memo, I guess you call it, that he gave us.
Three-page.
Would you please tell him he did a wonderful job?
Yeah, have y'all read that thing?
It's so well
Holy
written,
moly.
and you can understand it, and it's phenomenal.
It's in the packet. If you haven't read it, read it. It really tells it. Yes, Bill?
You do know there is a covert undermined to eliminate all local fire departments and force a county fire.
Actually statewide, they wanna do that. Our thought right now is a fire district's fine, but what do you call it, Mark?
Right.
We have to have a separate authority to run the whole thing. We're not in favor of it, 'cause we want local people running their department.
Absolutely.
So, we've heard of it, we're not cool on it, that I can tell, at least our chief isn't.
Right.
Karen?
I did just wanna share my opinion, because I wanted to start with the facts and how things were. And I wanted to listen to my fellow commissioners, and I wanted to listen to city staff, and I wanted to listen to the members of the public too. At first, I was very much, get your poop in a group, we've all done our work, you guys need to do your work. However, having listened to the folks here, I do think that, there is some validity in a 32-day extension. I don't think, forcing that township board as it currently sits and acts into a corner to make a decision, is to the betterment of anyone in our community right now. So that is my opinion.
Thank you.
And
Yes.
again, one final statement then. after hearing what everybody has said here today, I still believe that the current township board should be accountable and should honor the process. They should have been voting on that. However, that is not what was brought before us today. My primary concern with renewing this is that it would potentially lead to another long red tape process of kicking the can down the road on handling a situation instead of just getting the job done so the people don't have to be afraid who's gonna respond to their fire calls. That is my primary concern with any type of extension. However, I think that I can agree with our board on whatever choice we unilaterally decide to make.
Somewhat, yeah.
32 days is not the end of the world, I guess is what I'm saying.
It's disappointing that no one from Big Rapids Township is here to represent.
Firemen are here.
Oh, these guys are.
Yeah, but we have no say, so.
They're
We
in
can
the
talk all
dark.
day. Our fire guys have a lot to say. We'd be in trouble if they weren't in favor of this.
The only thing is like all of us that are here, whether we go to city, whether this falls through, it's gonna be the same people that are responding to every call anyways.
We appreciate you.
Yeah, we appreciate you. It's, I guess, the board that I'm appointed in.
Yeah.
Gotcha. You're not the only one.
Yeah.
None of
They're
my
not mad
sta-
at us.
No, we're not mad at you at
None
all.
of my former statements
Board.
were meant to be in a negative light towards any of the fire departments. It was specifically directed towards the people who were elected to make decisions for their community who failed to do so.
We understand that.
We understand that one.
Commissioner Johnson, anticipating the sentiment you expressed, which I think is shared,
Yep.
we put into the resolution that very clearly the city's not gonna be entertaining further extensions beyond the 32 days, so.
David? Yes, Mayor, I would like to make a motion that we approve the 32-day extension of the Fire Department Administrative Services Sharing Agreement with the Big Rapids Charter Township.
Second.
There's a motion and a second for the discussion. By the way, this will be directed immediately tomorrow to the Big Rapids Township Board. It's not a hidden secret. It'll hopefully be in the paper. Kathy Cruz always hear it, watching on YouTube. So, be sure Karen and Tammy get this out tomorrow.
Please and thank you.
Mayor,
Please and thank you.
if they have questions, can they call you?
Don't call me for fire.
No, we
And let's have a vote.
Yeah.
Please vote.
Yes.
Simon?
Yes.
Gunther?
Yes.
James?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Thank you all. Thanks for coming. Other things for the good of the group. Unscheduled business. Hearing none, we're adjourned.
Remember, I just got home Sunday afternoon. I haven't had time to get through my mail
We got
yet.
2 Monday night football games.
I'm sorry. I promise you in 2 weeks.
I sent it to the Big Rapids Township, Carmen, all of them, each one. Carmen Bean, Hannah Sayes,
They're reading it wrong. Somebody
and the treasurer is Merrick, Dina Merrick, and Joe